So as usual, we will go to Google Colab. Google Colab. Open a code file. Open a new notebook. I'll write the code and I'll give you a chance to write as well. Let's call this as LLM intro. What I'll do is I'll also share this with you. Let's say either you can write the code along with me, or you can, if you keep on refreshing this, you will be able to check the code, whatever I'm writing here. So I'm keeping this link in the chat window. Make sure that you open this as well as you open a new Colab file. First, we have to install some packages. I'm going to install pip install OpenAI. Pip install OpenAI, pip install LangChain. LangChain is a framework. We have a dedicated session on LangChain where I'm going to explain you what exactly is a framework, how is it making, like LangChain is one of the reasons why large language models got very famous, because LangChain has given so many pre-written software programs, so many pre-written modules and functions. We can interact with large language models very easily, and we can shift between one model to other model. Let's say if you have built a tool on OpenAI and your company has asked you to get out of it and get into CoPilot, or your company has asked you to go to Cohere. These are all the large language models. Then you can change it very easily. LangChain is a framework. Let's say there are some frameworks like Django framework or Flask framework, or if you are creating web applications or if you're creating mobile applications, there's something called Flutter framework. That means if you write the code in Flutter, you can upload it to Mac automatically, iOS, as well as you can upload it to your Android. Otherwise, earlier it was not possible easily. Like you have to write two separate pieces of code. So frameworks are the ones that will make your life easy. The underlying, whatever is a underlying overall underlying concept is large language models. This LangChain framework will make our job easy to interact with these large language models. But once we reach, like there is a dedicated session on that. Right now, the focus is not on LangChain. The focus is just getting a hang of what are large language models, how do we interact with them. So we'll say pip install Cohere is another large language model. And then there is something called LangChain community. So community version. So LangChain, this is another one, LangChain community, which is required. So these are the tools that are required. Let's say either you can type whatever I'm typing here. Otherwise, you refresh this. The link that I gave you, if you refresh automatically, this will be appearing in your system. Okay. So it's getting installed. Now what we need to do is we need to get some keys. So import OS operating system, os.environment. We have to give a key in the environment, and you have to precisely write like this, called OpenAI key. And you have to get an OpenAI key, your key. You have to buy the license and get it here. Like you have to buy something. Cohere is a open source, which we will be using. So OpenAI, maybe at a point of time, I'll tell you, maybe if you invest $10, you can almost use it for 1 year to 2 years. So if you are a serious learner, if you feel that LangChain is something that you want to learn, and if you feel that if you want to get something out of it, at least $10 if you spend, almost like for 1-2 years, you don't need to really worry about it at all. You can almost all our classroom exercises, all the assignments on top of it, you can share it with anybody also. Okay. So it's quite a cheap one, which you can acquire later on depending on the need. But right now, Cohere is open source. You can get it. So go to Cohere API key. If you click on this API keys, log in with Google, observe it, don't do it. Just observe this while I'm doing. Log in with the ID, continue. And then one trail key is generated already. I have a key with me. For you, you may want to generate, go to API keys, create a new trail key. Can you do that, all of you? Create a new trail key. So go here, and then I'm pasting this link in the chat window. Create a key quickly. I have my key. I'll just put that key and then execute. For you, you have to get your key. So get your key. So right now I have executed it. I have kept my key here and executed once. So it is going to work without any issues. So quickly do this step. Give me a confirmation once you have the Cohere key and once you have updated your Cohere key here. If you're facing any issues to access the Cohere key, then also let me know. So this is a OpenAI API key. You can use either OpenAI API key or Cohere API key. OpenAI API key, I suggest you to buy it later on if there is a chance for you. Within $10, you will get a very high amount of tokens. Basically, you are built on tokens, how many tokens you are using. So Cohere API key is what we have got. Let us see how to write a code. So from LangChain dot LLMs, import Cohere, and rest of the things I don't want it. Then you instantiate your LLM. I'll say my large language model is Cohere. And within the models, you have a model name, you can mention it, or you can mention something called temperature, which means how creative you want it to be. Those things we will reach later on. Simply, I will say my result is equal to LLM dot invoke. And within that invoke, you write whatever is your prompt. Whatever is your prompt. Let's say how many minimum sleeping hours are required for a healthy day or for a productive day. That is my question that I have. Everything will be stored in something called result. I will say print my result eventually. This is straightforward, all of you. It's giving me a warning, but I don't care about warning right now. Looks like llm.invoke. That is the place where we may have to give a warning. And it looks like there is a key related issue also. Let me wait for a couple of minutes. If it doesn't work, then I'll use my OpenAI related one. Maybe Cohere key. I'll create a new trail key. Key name is, let's say, GenAI batch. Generate a trail key. Generated. I will use it here. I'll just give my key once again and then execute it. Then get rid of this. Then re-execute this. Maybe if there's any key related issue, I'm just guessing that there would have been some key related issue. So now I got the output. Looks like the key has some issue. I'll try to upgrade the key. I'll just simply update it with my key. That's it. Result. You got the result? Yep. Just the same thing. Like you just need to redo this a couple of times. You can write anything like the way you interact with the chat GPT, the way you interact with any of the large language model, the kind of prompt that we write in chat GPT, you can write it like this. And then this prompt is sent to the large language model. You will be invoking. Now, how do we use that in the company? Let us suppose earlier you were building a sentiment analysis model. For building that sentiment analysis model, you have to train on larger amounts of data. You have to fine tune that model. Then you will get the final result. But simply what I'll do, I will ask it as a prompt here, as simple as this. So let us see what is my prompt here. So here what I'll do is I will write something called my prompt. What is my prompt here? You can give 3 lines, 3 quotes. What 3 quote means is like everything coming after this is a overall text. So what is the sentiment of this review? Give one word answer, positive or negative. And then I can give this review in quotes. If you can write it, write it. Otherwise, you take it from this code. As I am saving it here, you will automatically see in your system. And then llm.invoke, here I'll put something called prompt. So what am I writing? What is the sentiment of this review? Give one word answer, positive or negative. Okay. And then if I execute it, paused. So there is no need of model at all. Okay. I mean, at least a lot of generic stuff, if you feel that a large language model can answer this directly, we can use it. Quickly try this once you're done with this sentiment stuff. Give me a message. You can send a message saying sentiment analysis done.
Venkat sir, here we have Are we instructing or are we giving example to LLM that this is what we need and then this is what is happening through a prompt?
Hmm.
It's just like a spot, or we call it something spot example, no? One zero shot, one shot, two shot, whatever.
Hmm.
Is this similar to that only?
So basically, it's a very basic concept. Zero shot means what? Like basically, when you are interacting with large language model, these are all very powerful models. Depending on what you are asking, the result will vary. That whatever you're asking, that is known as prompt. Okay, you have to
Mm-hmm.
give the prompt properly. If you give the prompt in a ambiguous manner, where large language model is not able to understand, you're expecting your output in a certain format. I'm expecting my output, like usually if you ask what is the sentiment of this review, and if I do not mention any other details, okay, let's say what is the sentiment of this review, and I did not mention like this is what I'm expecting. In my mind, I'm thinking that I just want to know positive or negative, but I have directly given this. But large language model will never get to know that I'm asking positive or negative. It will give me the review is positive sentiment, the content expresses satisfaction, etc., etc., etc. It is never understanding like what I'm requiring. This is known as zero shot
Correct.
prompting. Okay, like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
haven't shown any shot means example. Okay,
Mm.
zero shot, you have shown zero examples, but
Yeah.
this is like one shot I have given. I told it that you give me one word answer, positive or negative. That's it. I don't want anything else. Okay. In fact, you
Mm-hmm.
can
Yeah.
also mention that also. Do not mention any other description.
Mm-hmm.
So you have
Mm-hmm.
to write the prompt in such a way that large language model understands what is your precise requirement. That is known as
Yeah.
prompt engineering, which is our
Mm-hmm.
next topic. Like there, we will go in depth into it.
This means unknowingly we all are using ChatGPT like this. We all are using, okay, this is what we don't need.
Hmm.
Then ChatGPT again we generating and giving it back as per our expectations, right? So
Hmm.
unknowingly we are using this in the front end
Exactly.
interface.
See, unnecessarily we are kind of highlighting or kind of prompt engineering is a kind of overhyped subject. It's not really that uh, critical or that what do you call difficult to learn. Okay, we just need to
Mm-hmm.
know certain rules, we just need to know certain tips and tricks, then we will be able to generate the results quite easily.
Yeah.
Basically, Venkat sir, but on a layman's language, you can say prompt is working like a sophisticated filter.
Yes, sophisticated filter, or basically if you go in depth of what exactly large language model is doing, whatever is the output that you see here, it is not generated in one go. Based on whatever you have given here, only this was generated by large language model. Then this review then has then a positive sentiment, like that it is generating word by word, word by word, and this whole generation of the text, the quality of the text that is being generated, that depends on whatever is the prompt that we have given. Okay, so prompt is an input to the large language model, and that input has to be given in a very clear, non-ambiguous manner, with the proper context, with the proper expectation of what you're looking for. Okay, nowadays giving a right prompt is also one of the skill set, and there are some companies that are hiring prompt engineers. By chance, if you're getting any errors in this, one error could be due to this key. Make sure that you put the key here, exact key, and then you can take my code as it is, the code I have given you, the link, isn't it? Make sure that all these are installed first, you have executed this, and then go to the next piece of code wherever we are writing this. The name error LLM is not defined. It means the issue would have been here, where while installation there would have been some issue. Okay, I will just clear the outputs. So LLM not defined here, we have to say LLM equal to Cohere. So this one, if it is not defined, if it is not done, then we will get an error. Let's say if I say LLM1 equal to Cohere, and then if I say LLM1 dot invoke. Now if I did not execute this, if I try to execute it, the error will be LLM1 not defined, because I have not defined it. Now if I define it, LLM1, now that error will not come because I have defined LLM1. Now I'm trying to get the answer out of it.
Venkat sir, one quick question, Unmesh here.
Hmm.
So where we have written this prompt is equal to then three quotes, and then we have mentioned that phrase inside, right? And we are asking for a sentiment on top of it.
Right.
So will it only accept phrases, or we can pass like a text file or a column name in a table,
Hmm.
something like that?
Yes, we can. But
Okay.
the thing is, as we discussed earlier, large language models are, as of now, are perfect on the text data. When you are handling a structured data like a pandas data frame, instead of using this is a very primitive or one of the basic way you are using a large language model. Okay, if you want to make your large language model work on a data frame, it is better to work with a data frame tool, which will understand, which will tell the large language model that this is not a normal prompt, this is not a normal text that you generally receive. It is a data frame, it has a structure, okay? While we can do it, but the accuracy out of it may not be that high. But if we write it properly, for example, I create a data frame here and write a code on top of it. Let us suppose I'll create a data frame with a few log messages, okay? So I have these log messages, and usually I will build a model that will predict whether a particular critical issue is seen or not. So this is the data frame that I have created, which has log message in it. A simple one. So I have something called a log message. Info, some of the messages are info related ones, some of them are warnings, low disk space, some of them, let's say this is our server, which is very critical, and a lot of applications are running on it. There is some critical error, database connection failed. That is critical. All the website will be down totally. If the database error connection is there, then your website will not load. Okay. Security breach detect, that is also critical error. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to use a large language model to understand this message. And the message can come in any unstructured format. Not always it will show critical. Sometimes it may give very large lengthy message. I want my large language model to understand this and create a new column saying that maybe sentiment or the message. So if I want to classify that, the way I will write it is my df dot let's say message or criticality. Okay, will be, I'll go to df message. First I have to give the message, and then I will say I will give this to a large, like earlier if we are using regular expressions or anything, if it is contains critical, then it is critical. But the thing is, I want my large language model, even if it doesn't contain critical, I want my large language model to understand this message and tell me what are the critical issues that need to be identified. So then I will use apply function. Dot apply lambda, I want to give the message as input. Dot apply lambda function that we are going to use. Now, if X, then I will write LLM dot invoke. Then I would say take the message here, whatever is the message that you are getting, classify the severity of the log message by taking the input as critical. Quickly, if I try to write it here, let's say if I take all of this. So what is happening here is I want to create something called sentiment or the criticality as a new one. I'm taking each and every message. Now for every message, I am writing this. That means I will go to first row, second row, third row. Basically, it's a for loop that is running. If I make it like this, then it may work. But as it is, if you give a data frame and ask a question, it may not work. Even though we are working with the data frame, but it's not really direct working with the data frame, isn't it? I'm taking each and every message here, and then one message is passed to get the criticality. Then the second message is passed, then the third message is passed. Finally, data frame is created. Then let us see the result. There will be an extra column that is added called sentiment. Info related, security level, critical, it has. Now by writing this, by modifying this particular one, maybe I just want only one word answer, info or critical or severe or warning. That's it. No other message should be given. It will give accordingly. But if we are giving the whole data frame as it is to a large language model and asking it identify the critical ones, then it may not be able to do it effectively, because there is a limit to the input also. This large language model will accept a limit of 4,000 tokens, or some of the large language models will accept an input of 2,000 tokens. Token means word. Okay. So some of the models may say that the input that you're giving is too much. I'm not able to handle it.
Okay. Thanks, Venkat.
But what is the solution to it? We'll talk about it.
Okay. I'll wait for that then. Thank you.
Complete this as well, all of you. If you refresh your code, the code file that I have given, if you refresh it, then the code that I'm writing here, as soon as I change, it must be reflecting in your system. Do you observe that, all of you? Are you getting the code that I'm writing here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Venkat, so this import OS command prompt, there are two keys, right? So one you saw the Cohere key.
Right.
Where to get the OpenAI key?
So we have to go to OpenAI API keys. Okay. We have to register, and it is the not the free version, it's paid. Okay. So we have to register there.
I have the paid one. Okay.
So then you go to here somewhere API keys is there. Okay. Create a new secret key. And in OpenAI, we have to store it. Once you create the new key, you have to store it somewhere. Only once you can create and copy it, and then just put it there. In the place of large language model that we are defining here, we will simply say large language model is equal to OpenAI. That's it. Instead of Cohere, we will be able to use OpenAI in that case.
Okay, sir. Got it. Thank you.
What I have observed in future, these large language models will be acting as agents to you, or on top of these large language models, there will be so many agents that will be built. Every company is right now is not really solving the problems the way that we see. If you are actually building a credit risk model or market prediction model, if you're creating a dashboard, or if you are creating a report, if you're looking at large language model from the point of view of solving that problem, that is not how it's going to happen. Every large language model or every company is creating agents, large language model based agents. The agents will take care of everything. Agent is literally a software employee. Agent is literally a data scientist who is doing a particular job. An agent will take the output. Let us suppose, what does an agent do is, let us suppose the output that I'm expecting here is not this much of information. There is information on info, severity, etc., etc. I just want info, warning, critical, info. That's it. But it has given me this much lengthy output. I don't want it. But we have to live with this. But if you build an agent on top of it, what agent will do is it will look at this output. It will have a validation mechanism. Using a large language model, it will validate whether this is what the user is asking for. No, this is not the one. Then it will re-execute, validate, re-execute, validate until unless it gets the final output, it will keep on doing it. And then we will combine multiple agents to do a particular job. Those agents may replace humans. For example, earlier, an agent, if I have a coding expert, he used to help me in writing the code, or I used to get into Google. But right now, if you are using Google right now, there is one large language model which is working behind the Google Colab. As we type, automatically the suggestions will be given. Otherwise, you can generate the code with AI. Let us suppose I have a data set somewhere. This is the data set on GitHub. I have this data set. I want to import this data, but unfortunately, I don't know how to code. So I will say, write Python code for importing, or Python anyway, by default, it will write Python code only. Code for importing data from. And just you give this. You ask it to generate. Can you generate the code for me, please? It will generate 4 options, not even a single option. 4 options. This is code version 1. If you like it, use it. Is it working? Working. If you don't like it, if it is not working, go to version 2. If you like it, use it. If it is not working, or if you don't like it, go for version 3. Working. Version 4. Working. Not only this, let's say if you are coding, automatically there is an agent who is always helping me. Let us suppose I want to print column names. I just wrote this as a comment. But the large language model found that I'm looking for printing the column names. It has suggested this code. Can you see that? I'll just hit tab and execute this. These are the column names. Create, let's say creating a box plot for the column price. I just thought it in my mind. That's it. The code is given to you. There's some key error. Price, we need to change it. Exactly the price. I think there is one space in the price in the beginning. We can rename it. Required. So there's a space price. This column is slightly different one. This is the box plot that is created. So what I'm trying to say is every tool that you're using right now, be it PPT, be it Word, be it your Power BI, be it your any of the tool, any of the programming language that you're using in your office right now, will now have a large language model attached to it. All your interaction with your tool will be made very, very easy in the first phase. And later on, once you give the workflow, if the data comes like this, you have to do these 4 steps. And you have to do, these are the validation checks. Make sure that the graph looks like this. Make sure that these fields are filled like this. You create an agent environment around it. You just write the code for it. Automatically, it will take care of it from next time onwards. Are you getting a hang of what I'm trying to tell you here?
Yes, sir.
Every company is not really solving the problem that we are solving right now. That's not where this GenAI large language models are going in. That's not where that's not what we should be focusing on. Everybody is learning the concept of generative AI. Later on, they may create something called agents. Right now, agents are not perfect. Agents are giving absolutely wrong results, absolutely erroneous results. Right now, they are at a very poor phase. But we have to learn those basics related to large language models. Later on in future, somebody else, a software programmer, may build an agent, but we have to work with that agent. Okay. So 10 people, whatever job it used to take earlier, 10 days, whatever, like 10 resources, the job that they do in 10 days, that means 100 man days will be done in 1 hour by 1 man by using all these 100 agents. That doesn't mean that our job will go away. A new type of job, your job will be transformed to a new level. If we are not updating, definitely our job may go away, but we have to transform. If you are handling this, then new jobs, let's say around 3 million jobs may go away, but I'm pretty sure around 5 million jobs, new jobs will be created for sure. We have to be prepared or be ready for those 5 million jobs. We have to be eligible, that's it. So OpenAI, CoPilot, you can use OpenAI and Cohere, any one of those two you can use. But I suggest you to get access to OpenAI. OpenAI, the currently pricing goes like this. For $10, they are giving 15 million tokens, input-output tokens together. What is a token? Let's say you have asked a question. You have asked a question here earlier. I have asked one question here let's say if I'm using OpenAI and I have written this prompt. What is the sentiment of this review? 1, 2, like token is not exactly one word. It is 75% of the word. Sometimes one word is divided into 2 words or 2 tokens. Let us suppose if we are talking about helpful, usually these are 2 tokens internally, help and full. And then friendly, friend and ly. Like that, there are some tokens or some words that are divided into 2, but roughly for a easy understanding, you can understand one token as one word. Okay. Literally, it is not true. Okay. So if you take this input prompt, roughly around 10 or 15 plus 15, 30 tokens I have given in the input. And if I execute this, I got 1 token as the output. 30 plus 1, 31 tokens I have used. Like that for $10, like 31 tokens are gone. How many more tokens I have? If I pay $10, I will have 15 million tokens will be given to me. You can access 15 million tokens. That is too huge. That means the interaction that you are thinking right now is a very small interaction. Imagine you are having a very large interaction. That means you are giving so many input tokens. You have given a large paragraph and you ask for so many output tokens. Let's say 500 input, or let's say you have given 100 input tokens, a large query you asked, and in the output you got 900. Overall, 1000 tokens will be used. Those 1000 tokens, if that is one complex prompt, similar to that, you can write 15,000 such prompts. 15,000 prompts is too much for our learning, isn't it? Even though how much our data you give, how many, like nearly 15,000 prompts you can write. So that is like almost like 1 or 2 years you can use just by paying $10. But it's up to you. If you take it, then most of our exercises you will get smoothly. Otherwise, people who have OpenAI key, they will be using OpenAI. People who do not have OpenAI key, they will be using Cohere. Cohere generally tends to give kind of not that great results. Okay.
Venkat sir, one quick technical question. I'm not that strong.
Yeah.
So as a process flow, right? Not technical side.
Hmm.
Cohere, OpenAI, these are all LLM supplier, right? We are
Right.
giving them prompt and they're giving us result. But before that, we need API to connect, which is Google Colab. Is that I'm correct?
No. Even if you're using Jupyter Notebook, okay. What is your API key? Basically, if you have an API key, which you have stored in your environment, this code will work. Okay. Earlier, you remember when I write this code, when I tried executing, it has given me an error saying that I cannot. So basically, API is kind of a validation between you and Cohere. You send something to Cohere. Cohere will quickly validate you are the right user or not. That's it.
Okay, sir. Thank you. But typically, Venkat, we are thinking in a mostly financial industry. So I work in a bank. So typically, as you rightly said, credit risk model or prediction, we use still regression or decision tree and all, right? But the moment we want to use this, right, we need to have those connections set up, right? And that the bigger bank, which are regulated, they may not give it because there is an issue on ethical transparency, privacy. So I'm just thinking how to set up a proof of concept on LLM without a key. That is not possible, right?
Possible. So there's something called open source LLM models. Okay. How do you access open source LLM models? For example, right now, if you see OpenAI, the company OpenAI, they are using GPT-4, I guess, isn't it? 4.0. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, before coming to GPT-4, they were using GPT 3.5, not GPT-4. Like this is GPT 4.0. Before that, GPT-4. Before that, GPT 3.5. Before that, GPT-3. Before that, GPT-2. Now, what are they doing with GPT-2, GPT-3, GPT-1 right now? They have shelved them, isn't it? They're not used by anybody. Nobody is using them. So what companies are doing is they have come to a hub called Hugging Face Hub. So on Hugging Face, you have all these models that the companies are coming forward and sharing them for free. Open source models, literally the complete model is given to you. Like when I say model, what is a model? A complex mathematical equation, which is stored in an XML file or .h5 file or binary file or something. They are giving you the model. Let's say if I want to access GPT models, GPT based models that were used previously. If I want to access those models, GPT-2 is available, GPT-2 medium, GPT-2 XL. Maybe right now they are using GPT-4, but I can download this GPT-2. Literally, you can download it. You can go to files, you can download it. Obviously, these will be like a large size model, and you can use it locally. You can set up locally. There are 5 or 6 ways to set up a local environment, or simply you take this model, use it on Jupyter Notebook also, it is perfectly fine. So if you're worried that we are having security concern, what companies can do is they can go to Hugging Face, and we have, like in the upcoming sessions, we have a dedicated session on Hugging Face topic itself. How do you get Hugging Face models to local systems? Sometimes these models are built. Another question that should come to our mind is these models are built on the generic data. How do I fine tune and make them understand my data? That is also possible. Basically, what you can do is you can take a GPT-2 model from here, augment your data locally with yourself. Like nobody gets to see that. No model will get to see that. You can go totally offline. And then from there, you can change the weights of that model. After changing the weights of that model, it becomes your model. In fact, you can sell it like a service to some other companies because you have taken one base model, you have fine-tuned it, it works on a particular certain type of data. So this is a solution for high security purpose. Let's say if we do not, and this is a solution almost every startup is using these Hugging Face models. Let's say if you're working with large language models, you have to be damn perfect or damn good with Hugging Face. How do you use them? And n number of models. How many models are available? Let us see how many models are available right now on Hugging Face. Total number of models. 7 lakh models are there. 704,000. All big companies. Microsoft have given their models, and some of the models are shared by Google. Some of the models are shared by Meta, Facebook, Microsoft, and then your Google, OpenAI, GPT. Almost all big companies have shared their models here. Some models are related to text classification, sentiment analysis, document classification. Some models are related to entity recognition. Some models are related to table question and answering. The question that Unmesh asked earlier, if I send a table as input, if I want the output, instead of taking any generic LLM model, I will use this particular LLM model that will do a good job. Here, there is not even an issue of token size here because we are using our own model. We can fine tune it to any extent that we want. And we will have a dedicated session on Hugging Face as well. Okay. And fine tuning the models from there. Yeah.
Thank you, Venkat. So really great, I think.
Yeah. And not only that, since we are learning, what mindset I want all of you to have is forget about what our company accepts or not accept. Let us learn together. Imagine that we have to learn this, whether it is implemented in the company, accepted in the company, not accepted in the company, that is secondary because that is not our destiny. Okay. At the end of the day, we want to use a large language model. Right now, my company is not allowing. Maybe after 6 months, the same company will buy OpenAI. Okay. Or the same company will have an agreement with OpenAI. Then your learning will actually help you. Okay. So while learning, we will learn limitless. Okay.
Yeah, and because Venkat sir, you are also from a bank background, earlier this credit risk model and all, it was based on logistic and all because it was explainable. Slowly this ML came, right? And there was a lot of pushback, no transparency. But now there are governance teams set up to understand ML, right? Same thing happened also for LLM.
Exactly,
right? So,
definitely. In fact, as I told you, it is not really the problems that we are solving right now will be used in betterments. That is the last option. Right now, the whole industry is looking at these large language models entirely from a different point of view. How do you automate some of the processes that used to take a hell lot of time? That was one question. And sometimes we used to have some data earlier. Earlier, we used to leave that data. How do you analyze that data? Especially in technical side, there are data science teams. They used to gather the data. They used to analyze the data. What about remaining 90% of the teams that are working in the Citibank? Data science is only 10% of the teams, isn't it? All the teams together.
Maybe less, sir.
Maybe less. But what about the rest of the 90% of the teams? What are the marketing teams? What are the front desk teams? What about the Citibank actual premises? If you want to implement data science there and then, what about the call center in Citibank? Earlier, the call was recorded and left it. That's it. Can you record the calls now? Can you convert it into text? Can you do the summary of that, and can you find out what is the issue? Is it the issue with the agent, or is it the real critical issue? Whatever calls that were done on that day, let us suppose 10,000 calls have been attended. Can you get a report of all those 10,000 calls within 1 hour? Or suddenly there is a spike in the calls? Can you get what is the issue? Can you solve it? Are you getting what I'm trying to say?
Yes,
The
sir.
problems that we have never even touched earlier, those problems will be solved quickly. We did not touch them because there was no pattern, standard pattern that we could find out using the structured machine learning models. But now that these large language models don't even expect you to give a standard pattern, they can understand any type of thing. So Hugging Face is one of the source where we can get all these large language models that are shared by the companies. So we will have some more discussion on Hugging Face as well.
Right,
But
sir.
apparently we will take a quick break. Right after the break, we will try to regroup and then continue. But before we get into break, are there any quick questions? Right after the break, we will get into prompt engineering. We'll take a quick 15 minutes break. But before getting into the break, are there any quick questions, anybody?
Yeah, Venkat sir, I do have one question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So when we call LLM OpenAI,
Hmm.
it's just similar to calling a build model, right? And then it's coding it. It's coding is what we are doing
Hmm.
in book.
Hmm,
It's the coding part,
Correct.
right? So can we also pass something as a parameter to customize doing the call itself?
Yes,
Right.
yes. So there are so many things that we can add in that call. There are, let's say, that particular call has 4-5 models. Let's say OpenAI itself has 4-5 models. You can specify which model you are specifically looking for. Let's say, and there is a parameter called temperature. That means I have asked this question, how many minimum hours are required for a productive day? Okay. Here
Mhm.
I'm using Cohere. There's a temperature is one of the variable, or the, like all this, definitely we are going to get into the details. Here I'm just giving a introduction to LLM. The temperature, what
Yeah.
it is going to do is, it is always between 0 and 1. If you say 0.9, it will be very creative, that it will try to make up so many things. Okay. If you say temperature is 0, it will give factual information only. It will try not to make up
Correct.
anything. Okay. So if you say temperature is 0.5, little bit of creativity, little bit of factual information, that is one. Then you can mention the model here. You can mention the max number of tokens in the output. Like that, there are multiple parameters that we can pass on.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Any other questions? Quick questions, anybody? Okay, let's take a break. Let's meet at 12. Does that work? 12, just have a quick coffee or something. We will come back and restart this. We will get into some more ways of interacting with large language models. I'll see you on the other side. Now, these large language models are quite powerful, but it doesn't mean that they will give you always the right output. You have to give a proper prompt. If you don't give the right prompt means input. You have to give the input accurately. If you don't give the right prompt, then you will not be able to get the right accurate output. So prompt, first thing we need to realize here is prompt is not same as Google search string. Usually the mistake that we tend to do is we go to ChatGPT, we go to Gemini, whatever we write in Google search, like whatever we are searching in Google, similarly, if we are searching in ChatGPT, we will not get the right answers. A prompt is like you're having a conversation with a large language model, or a prompt, it's like you are giving instructions to a large language model. The instruction cannot be a simple 1 or 2 or 3 words set string. They have to be very clear. You have to avoid very small, very brief queries. You have to give detailed instructions. Giving detailed instructions so that you can get the right outputs, that is known as prompt engineering. What is prompt engineering? Meticulously designing a prompt is known as prompt engineering. You design a prompt in such a way that you carefully include the context in that prompt, carefully include the intended tone, carefully include some of the examples. So what is the typical standard method that we follow usually? Let's say if I want to know anything about data science, how to become a data scientist, this is what I have written. Now that is a typical prompt that we write usually. This is known as zero shot prompting. A shot means example. You have given 0 examples. So ChatGPT or any large language model will give you the output, but the output will be very broad. It will be very generic output. Some of the other short prompting examples are, what is NLP? How to learn generative AI? Give me some Python basic examples. How to earn money from the stock market? These are very, very generic. You are not mentioning the specific details. So zero shot prompting, what are the issues? ChatGPT doesn't know whether you're a beginner or you're an expert when you say explain NLP to me. You have to tell like in what context you want NLP. You already know stuff, then it'll explain in a better manner. If you're an absolute beginner, then maybe in a slightly, layman-ish terms, it'll explain. I want to learn some Python, or give me some Python basic examples. Python is actually multi-purpose language. You can become a Python developer. You have Python data science, which are totally different, two different fields altogether. How to earn money from the stock market? It's very generic. Are you a trader or are you a long-term investor? What is a good diet plan? Good diet plan here in India may not be a good diet plan in US, which may not be a good diet plan in UK. What diet plan it has to suggest? If it suggests that you have to eat avocados, you have to eat dragon fruits, you have to eat these kind of things, maybe these are not available in India. Even if they're available, they're not like authentic. Let's say if you are writing this good diet plan, and if you are in US and it suggests that eat idli, eat dosa, eat sambar, etc., eat poha, paratha, is it possible in somebody who's in US, can they get it like a staple food? No. So that is zero shot prompting. The issues are the context is missing. Examples are missing, specific tone is missing. Typically, it leads to responses that are quite broad, unspecific, generic, repetitive. Like sometimes we give the prompt, I'm not getting the right output. Again, we give the prompt, same thing, same thing. Like no matter how many times you give the prompt, irritatingly, the output that you get out of ChatGPT will be same. So how do you do improvements over zero shot prompting? Whenever you are giving a prompt, I'll give you a structure. Remember these 5 elements. If you try to keep these 5 elements in your mind before writing the prompt, maybe you can fine tune your prompt. Maybe there's a high chance that you will get slightly better results. What are the 5 elements that you must always remember? Let us go one by one. When you are interacting with large language models, when you are interacting with ChatGPT or Gemini or any of the large language models, assign a role to that large language model. The large language model is an expert in everything. A large language model literally knows everything. So first you have to specifically assign a role to the large language model. You ask it to get into a character or to get into a person, or ask the large language model to be an expert in a certain field. If you want to ask about NLP, you ask large language model like this. Put yourself in the shoes of an NLP expert. Imagine you are an expert in generative AI and related fields. Put yourself in the shoes of a seasoned Python developer with extensive knowledge. Try to assign a role to a large language model. Imagine you are an experienced stock market expert with a proven track record. Imagine you are a certified nutritionist with extensive expertise. Automatically, the results that are generated will be much more granular, will be much more specific, because you are assigning a role. Then large language model will try to give you results that are related to this particular role. And large language model thinks that, okay, I'm a certified nutritionist. All the articles that were previously given by certified nutritionists only will be used in generating your output. So the first element that you have to remember is assign a role. When you're writing a prompt, just don't write the prompt. First, assign a role to the large language model. Is that clear, everyone? What do you mean by assigning a role? Makes sense, isn't it? You ask the large language model to take a role, and then you ask your question. And accordingly, it will give you. Take a role of an experienced lawyer with extensive knowledge in particular sections, with extensive knowledge in criminal law, with extensive knowledge in tax law, in extensive knowledge in civil cases. Assign a specific role, then the results will be very specific. You will get almost like you're talking to an expert, literally. The second element that you must remember is always give few examples, exceptions, inclusions, exclusions. Examples are also known as shorts. Give few shorts. Examples are quite important because in your mind, you're thinking that I want the output in this manner. But how many other times you ask to ChatGPT, it is not giving the output in this manner. Then you give it, this is what I want. Like an example, like a short. You know what? If I give this review as input, in the output, I want the sentiment and I want what is the point that has been highlighted in that review. If I give this as input, I want the sentiment, what is the point that got highlighted. So just give few shorts, nothing else is required. So my input is this is the expected output. My input is this is the expected output. My input is this, what is the output? As simple as what is the output. Now, without giving these shorts, if you directly give this, will it give you a proper output? No. If you give those two shorts, simply you give this as input. This is the expected output. This is input, expected output. You just give the input. The output will be given like this. Give few shorts, give few examples. Examples is important. Examples are very important when you are interacting with ChatGPT or any of the large language model. When I say French fries, This is the explanation that I want and how many calories are there. Potato chips, explanation and calories. Soda, explanation and calories. Fill the rest of the ones. It'll try to give the explanation, try to fill the calories. When I say day 1, chest, and then these are the 3 sets. Exactly in this manner I want. I want the activity name, I want the number of sets, and within each set, how many repetitions I want to do. I just fill day 1 and then day 2 onwards. I want it like if you ask it in a general manner, prepare a workout plan for a week with 1 day holiday. No, it will not be able to give you the manner that you want. This is exactly precisely what I want. I want to take a printout of this. I want to put it in that bedroom or wherever in the gym and then do it. If that is the case, you show a shot. This is one shot, one example you're showing. Give few shots, then definitely you will get the right output. Are you with me, everyone? Are you getting a hang of it? Does it make sense to give few shots? Of course, it will make sense. Okay. The next one is always keep domain and context in mind. Give the domain, mention the domain and context. Without domain and context, you will get very broad output. You tell Python, like you tell the large language model, you want to learn about Python, but what kind of Python? If you say, I want to learn Python developer related stuff, the learning path is different. It'll say go master basics, then you learn OOPS, object-oriented programming, then you learn data structures and algorithm, then you learn web development, then you learn real-world projects, etc., etc. Totally developer-related side of Python, which is a huge distraction. If you want to become a data scientist, you mention the domain. I want to become a data scientist. That is my domain. Then the output is entirely different. First, master the fundamentals, then you go to data analysis like NumPy and Pandas. No need of OOPS if you are a data scientist. Data visualizations, machine learning, and then real-world projects. Domain really matters. Context really matters. If you just suggest a good diet plan, very broad, very generic. Eat fruits, eat protein, eat whole grains, very generic. If you mention carefully, imagine you are a certified nutritionist with extensive expertise. Provide a personalized guidance on what constitutes a highly effective tailored diet plan. And you mention your domain, your context. I live in South India. I'm a male. My age is 38. My height is 5.8. My weight is this much right now. Based on this, you suggest me. Then it will suggest, okay, you can eat idlis, dosas, you eat some coconut chutney, banana, papaya, etc., etc. For lunch, you go for millets like this. Give the domain, give the context. Imagine you're an investment banker. I want to invest for a long term and I want to shortlist few stocks and give me in an easy to understand manner. And these are the ratios or the factors that I have to use to actually find out what are the right stocks. And most of them are quite good. Explain the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. Now that is a huge philosophy, but my context is different. My domain is to a 12 years old kid. I want to explain it to a 12 years old kid in 5 points. Then in short, it is your duty and responsibility. That is point 1. Bhagavad Gita says, you just do your duty and responsibility. Don't worry about the result. Inner peace really matters. Nowhere it says money matters. Self-discovery, you discover yourself. No, like you don't need to compare with others. Equality and respect others. Finally, spirituality. If you really focus on this, that should be fine. That's what domain and context does. Are you with me, everyone? Tell me, let's recap. What are the 3 elements that we have discussed? What is the first element? When you are interacting with large language model, there are 5 elements that you have to remember. The first thing that you should always, that should come to your mind is
Role play.
Defining role.
Assign a role to a large language model. What is the second thing that you have to remember when you are interacting with a large language model?
Examples.
You give few examples. Examples are also known as shots. Always give you examples. If you feel that no matter how many times I try, this large language model is not working, ChatGPT is not giving the result that I am looking for, don't blame ChatGPT. Can large language model go ever wrong? They have built on the whole internet of data. There's no way that we can blame a model. It's the prompt that we are giving. Give few examples, you'll get it. Next one. Domain and context. Make sure that which domain, which context you want your output in. Then you will get granularized, fine-tuned results. The next one is you can mention what kind of display you want, what kind of format you want your output. You can get the display in bullet points. Maybe you're expecting in bullet points, but every time it is giving you in text. Then mention it. I want in bullet points. Maybe you're expecting a table. Mention it. I want tabular values. Sections and subsections. Usually this is what ChatGPT gives. I want code blocks. I think code blocks automatically it gives mathematical quotations, labels, annotations. You have to mention it. What are the top attractions in Paris and France? Give the list only. Do not include any explanations. Only the list will be given to you. No other explanation. You ask it, you prompt it rightly, it will give you the output based on your prompt. List the key personality traits that contribute to success. Present them in a concise bullet point format. I want them in bullet point format. You need determination, you need resilience, you need self-discipline, you need optimism, you need adaptability, you need leadership. These are some of the points that will help you to become successful. ये सब हमसे नहीं होगा चलेगा फिर भी. We can become happy. Okay. What are the 5 effective study techniques for improving memory retention? This is a good one. Like these are like really good options. Like if you are studying right now GenAI, you're studying them right now. How do you remember for long? How do you remember this theory for 10 years, for 7 years, or at least for 5 years, whatever we are learning in these 2 months? How do you remember it for 10 years? How do you do that? One is active recall. Maybe you study it today, then take a break. Maybe after 3 days, after a week, you study again. Again, after 1 month, you study. Just go through it once. That's it. After 1 year, again, you go through it once. After 2 years, you go through it once. You repeat this cycle. Maybe after 5 years, you go through it once. Then you will remember them almost forever. If you do that active recall for 11 times, then automatically for the rest of the life, you will be able to remember. Speed retention, some of the devices, summarization, teaching to others. Like you can come back to DV analytics and you can teach to other students. Actually, that is going to make it a big, like it make a big difference when you're actually, if you want to study something, if you want to learn something, teaching is the best way to learn. So display output format is the next one. Whatever is the format that you are thinking in your mind, you have to clearly explain it. Okay. The next item is you can display it as bullet points. You can display it as sections and subsections. You can display it as tabular values. You can ask ChatGPT to display as tabular values. You can ask ChatGPT to display in markdown format. You can ask ChatGPT to display in latex format. There are different formats you can ask it to display. You can ask, like, anyway, code will be displayed in the code format anyway by ChatGPT itself. And the last element that you must always remember is iterations. One mistake we tend to do is I have written a prompt and ChatGPT. When I'm saying ChatGPT, I mean to say a large language model has given an output. And this output is not at all what I'm looking for. Generally, if this output is not correct, what we tend to do, tell me, what do you do right now? Currently, what do you do? You have given a prompt, ChatGPT did not give you the right output. What do you do? Again, we write the same prompt, isn't it? Resubmit it. Yes or no? But what we should do is, in the next prompt, instead of resubmitting the same prompt, we have to tell in the above output, this is correct. In this above output, this is correct. And these 4 lines are wrong. And these 4 lines are absolute blunder. I don't want them. So you can tell that in the above output, this is what I'm looking for. The first 2 paragraphs are correct. Give something like that. The next 2 paragraphs, the section that talks about these 2 topics, that is not what I wanted. Please remove them. Like that, you go iteration wise. Don't just resubmit it until you get the best one. You tell the large language model what it did correctly, what it has to avoid, then you will get the best results iteration by iteration. Try iterations, you will definitely like it. It's almost like reinforcement. That means you are telling the large language model what went well, what went wrong. Let's say if I ask, how should I write my resume for a job application? It has given this output and I did not like some of it. Some of them are okay, fine. Then what I should write is, how do I adjust the above one for a senior data analyst position for a data analytics startup? Then it will modify. Create a sales page for an online training program. Some of them are good. Adjust the above sales page for a data science program. How can I improve my credit score? Could you give me the output in bullet points with examples? So this is how you can improve your credit score. But it is giving in dollars. It is in US or world context. What I want to do is adjust the above output to improve the CIBIL score in an Indian context. Dollars are now converted into rupees. So basically, I like this output, but this is in dollars. Instead of rewriting it until I get the Indian context, what I'm doing is I'm trying to tell the large language model that, you know what, this has worked, this did not work. That is the iterations part. So when you are working with prompt engineering is all about meticulously designing the prompt. But prompt engineering is not really rocket science. Prompt engineering is just a collection of a little bit tips and tricks. Already, all of you are already using a lot of tricks and tricks. Everybody who is in here, who is using ChatGPT, you're already a prompt engineer. Apart from the tips and tricks that you are using, make sure that you include these tricks as well. Then you will become a perfect prompt engineer where you will get perfect results out of it. So what are the 5 elements that you must always remember? I'm not saying that you must include all these 5 elements in every prompt just forcefully, but think of these 5 elements when you are writing a prompt. What is the first element that you have to remember?
Role model.
Role. You try to assign a role to the large language model. Ask it to get into a certain shoes of a particular expert. And then
Example.
you try to give some examples or shots. Next one.
Domain.
Domain and context. Mention the domain and context if you feel that is important. Next one that you should remember. Display format. Whatever is the format that you want, you can display that. Next one.
Iterations.
Iterations. Now, if you feel this is very difficult for you to remember, what is my full name? Venkat Reddy. So what is my last name? R-E-D-D-Y, but make it like R-E-D-D-I. So whenever you're writing a prompt, remember me. What does that mean? R for
Role.
E for
Example.
D for
Domain.
D for
Display.
I for
Iterations.
So if you're in your prompt, if I'm not there, that is not a perfect prompt. Okay. So always remember me when you're interacting with ChatGPT. Okay. So what I'm trying, yeah, just joking. Okay, it's not like you'll not get the output. It's that you must be already using some tips and tricks already. Apart from that, if you add this, then you're a prompt engineer. Now you can update your CV that I have a new extra skill called prompt engineering, and I follow a structured output. I give you examples. I do that few short and all that. Like there are several other things as well, but the thing is, at the end of the day, a prompt is not the final output. A prompt is not a program. At the end of the day, a prompt is just an input. So you're giving the input in a meticulously designed manner so that you get the proper output. That is what prompt engineering is all about. Okay. So what I want to tell you is nowadays when you say GenAI, there are 4 or 5 layers within GenAI. One of the basic layer, that means with absolutely no skill, still I can be good at GenAI, is directly using these large language models as a prompt engineer. In some of the roles, this prompt engineering is sufficient. Let us suppose you are into sales, you are into marketing. Earlier to prepare a marketing report, earlier to come up with marketing strategies, earlier to, if you are into digital marketing, to prepare a poster, what text should be kept on that poster, you have to think, you have to copy it from here and there, but you can generate that text. In some of the roles, prompt engineering is sufficient. Do you agree with that? HR. Earlier to write a proper mail for a CEO versus like various levels, if I want to write various tones of mail, then I may have to really study a lot. But now by using GenAI, I can generate different type of mails easily. Do you agree? So that is layer one, very broad, not a lot of skill is required. Okay. Layer two, this is layer one. I would say almost 90% of the people will be acquiring this skill very soon. Like the way if you are applying for a job right now, whatever is your skill set, you have 10 or 15 skills, whatever is skill set, your English communication is checked, isn't it? That is a basic skill that is required. In future, apart from English communication, there's one more skill that is required. If you're applying for any job, you have to be a good prompt engineer. Because every company is going to have one large language model. They will either build it, or they will buy it. Do you agree with that? Every company will definitely have hands on one large language model for sure. Why would they want to be behind everybody else? So 90% of the people will have this skill very soon. The next layer that this is all my understanding. I'm not saying that this is the exact industry standard that somewhere it is defined, but based on whatever I have studied in last 1 year, based over whatever I have interacted with whatever experts in my friend circle, whatever are the VPs, whatever are the corporate connections that I have, based on that, I feel that this is one skill that everybody must have, prompt engineering. But anyway, we are done with that. You can just remember me, you'll be able to give good prompts. The next one is you want to get hands-on on a large language model. You want to download it. A large language model, like either a moderate one. I'm not talking about trillions and trillions of parameters, something that can be managed in our system. You will take it, you will download it. After downloading it, you are going to make modifications to it, or you're going to fine tune it. So that is Hugging Face. From Hugging Face, you'll download a large language model. You will fine tune it. What do you mean by fine tuning? You have taken somebody else's model. For example, in Citibank, they have built one model on credit risk. They told that y equal to beta naught plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2. To predict somebody is going to be a defaulter or non-defaulter, I have built this model. X1 is income. Income weightage is, let's say, 0.8. And then the second one is, first variable is income. Let me write it neatly. Let's say to predict somebody is a defaulter or non-defaulter, I will say the standard equation is, let's say, 0.5 beta naught plus 0.21 into income plus 0.38 into number of loans. That is the equation that Citibank has prepared, and this is working well for them. They are effectively predicting somebody is a defaulter or non-defaulter. But I have taken this model built by somebody else. Now I come to HSBC. Based on the data, I found that to predict defaulter or non-defaulter, 0.5 plus income should be given more weightage. 0.8 into income plus 0.38 into number of loans. That is what I'm saying, or 0.39 into number of loans. So I have used the same variables. And I have changed their weights. That is known as fine tuning for my data. So we will take a large language model, we'll fine tune it. So this will solve a hell lot of problems already, whichever are there. Whatever models that we have built earlier, by fine tuning them, we will be able to solve our problems. Okay. That is one more layer, which is much code oriented, much more complex than a simple prompt engineering. Then the next level is use a very complex large language model, very powerful large language model, augment your data. I don't want to really fine tune. Even fine tuning is not helping because fine tuning has some limitations. So I have to use large language model. I cannot fine tune it. I will augment my data. After augmenting, that means I will expose my data to a large language model in a controlled environment. And then I will do all the prompting on top of it. That is known as retrieval augmented generation. I want to generate the output, but after augmenting my particular data to it. So the question and answers that you're asking should be related to my data only. That is the next level, slightly more complex than this one. And the final ultimate level is using agents. Now everybody is trying these agents. Like agents is like totally automating the flow. Agents, they themselves will generate the output, check the output, whether it is accurate or inaccurate. If the output is accurate, okay. Output is inaccurate, then try to correct it, etc., etc., etc. That is a agents. Maybe after this, like right now, the whole world is at this place. Based on my understanding, everybody is effectively, accurately predicting or building everything around this. We are here right now. Okay. Maybe in future, agents will come into the picture. 100% not perfection is not achieved yet. Maybe beyond that, maybe artificial general intelligence may come into the picture. But this is the overall, what do you call, funnel that we may get into. So until here, we will learn in this program. Today, we are done with prompt engineering. But before reaching here, there are a few basics that we have to learn, and then we will go there. Yes. So that is a story for today. I'll open the forum for questions.